Hi, my name is Eva Wennes. I'm a Pilates instructor and a corrective exercise specialist located in San Diego, California. I help people who suffer from chronic pain and or live with some kind of chronic condition. You may or you may not know that I ran another telesummit earlier this year. It was called Pain Free for Life. That summit gained such a huge following and it generated so much interest that up until this day, I keep getting requests from people to continue and explore and discuss the causes of chronic pain. So here we are for the second time around. This summit is called Heal Your Chronic Pain. And I'm bringing you the top experts of the health and wellness industry because I really want you to understand what causes your chronic pain and what alternatives are out there in order to eliminate the pain. In my private Pilates practice and in my online coaching program where I work with people who suffer from usually multiple pain areas and they have severe pain, I meet people every day who know very, very little about what else is out there, what kind of help they could get to help eliminate the pain. Especially when conventional medicine fails, people feel like they are left in the dark and they get really upset and really depressed because they feel like there's no help out there and they are doomed to live with pain for the rest of their lives. If you feel like that, I want you to know that you're not a lost case. There's always help out there and you can always improve your condition. You can always get better if you get the right kind of help. Today, I would like to introduce Erin Myers to you. Erin, thank you so much for joining me on this summit.
You're welcome.
Would you please introduce yourself to our audience? Just tell us who you are and what has led you to be where you are right now in life and in your career.
Yeah, my name is Erin Myers, and I'm a Pilates and gyrotonic instructor out of Nashville, Tennessee. I have had a few studios. I'm about to open my second Pilates studio, and I specialize in working with people that have scoliosis. It wasn't my intent to specialize in working with people with scoliosis, but it organically grew out of that. When I was 14, I was diagnosed with scoliosis at a 17-degree major curve, which isn't that much. Doctors did nothing for me, and they just told my parents to watch and wait. I was a dancer and went on to dance with the Radio City Rockettes for a few years, and my pain became horrible. My scoliosis got worse, and I had a lot of other issues with my body. Pilates happened soon after that, and if we fast forward, I started a studio in Nashville, Tennessee, and people started coming to me and bringing their children to me because they heard I have scoliosis and their children had scoliosis, and they were not okay with the medical community putting a brace in them or doing surgery for them. So I ended up with a bunch of kids in my studio, and I didn't know very much about how specifically to work with scoliosis patients and clients. But just with the knowledge of being a good anatomical Pilates instructor, I was able to decrease curves, which was proven by x-rays. And through the years, fast forward another 10 years, I have researched my brains out, everything I could get my hands on how to work with people with scoliosis. Through that, I've made a workout DVD for people with scoliosis and a few books, an app on how to measure your scoliosis to see if therapies are helping you or not. So that's where I'm at today. And I realized that there is just a really big hole in the scoliosis community. People don't know what to do for their scoliosis. They're given no options from the scoliosis medical community. And this is where the Pilates world has to come into play.
That's wonderful, Erin. And I completely resonate with what you said, and you also prove what I said in my introductory speech, that people don't know how to get help, who to turn to. And it's so wonderful that you developed this specialty based on your own body and your own scoliosis, so you can really offer hands-on help because you understand what those people are going through. Erin, you said that you were diagnosed with scoliosis as a child.
Mhm.
What is your advice to parents whose child gets diagnosed with scoliosis? What is the first step? What do they do?
Yeah, so the first step is to take a deep breath. Your child is not going to die. Your child will go on to live a healthy and happy life. And you need to know that there's a really high likelihood that your doctors are not going to give you proactive things to do, and that they may even tell you that there is nothing that you can do to help your scoliosis. And I'm sorry if you get that response. That being said, you need to go and need to find practitioners in your town that can work, who can work with your child that has scoliosis weekly. Pilates instructors, gyrotonic instructors, myofascial release therapists, and the list can go on and on and on. Not every town is going to have the same kind of instructor, and so you have to know a myriad of different instructors that you can go and find. But especially if you're a child that has been diagnosed with scoliosis, you have to have someone in your town that you see all the time, because all it takes is a few bad weeks where scoliosis can twist up. You need to have someone who knows your child's back, that sees it all the time, and that can stop the progression as it's happening and say, you know what, something's going on with your back. I need you to go to get acupuncture this week. I need you to go have another myofascial massage with me this week. I need you to go roll out every night, do this, this, and this, and then you stop it from getting worse. So you don't have a 70-degree curve and you throw your hands in the air and you say, oh my gosh, the only thing I can do is surgery. We don't want to get there. We want to get it where you have a little curve and we just stop it before it gets worse.
Erin, one of the main symptoms of scoliosis is back pain. Obviously, the spine is bending, twisting. Is there a cure?
So scoliosis, adolescent idiopathic scoliosis, I have to define what kind of scoliosis we're dealing with, because scoliosis is defined as a lateral degree or sideways bend of the curve of 10 degrees or more. There's a lot of reasons that you can end up with a curved spine. So let's define it as adolescent idiopathic scoliosis for right now. It is a neurological hormonal condition that manifests itself in a twisted spine. So so much money has been spent on finding the root cause of scoliosis. I have my own personal opinions, but that's a story for another day. But you have to understand that scoliosis is not going to go away. And it's okay. The goal is not to have a perfectly straight spine. The goal is to see how much we can decrease the curvature and stabilize the spine from getting worse and decreasing pain. That is the goal. So if that is the goal, there are lots of things that you can do to decrease pain. And having less pain will increase your quality of life. And that is the goal.
Erin, what is your take on surgery? Does it fix scoliosis? When should someone, if ever, opt in for surgery?
So I'm going to tread really lightly here, even though I have my own opinion that I don't believe that surgery is a fix for scoliosis. There are a lot of people that have had surgery, or that their parents chose to have them have surgery when they were little, and now they are older and they are experiencing tons of pain, and there are emotions involved and anger issues involved with the fact that choices were made for them when they were younger to have rods and screws put in their spine that cannot be taken out. So if that is the case, you can still do Pilates. We can still get you out of pain. But I need you to understand that if you haven't had surgery, thinking that surgery will decrease pain is an absolute lie. You have to understand that. So if your goal is saying, if you say, I have so much pain with my scoliosis, so I'm going to have surgery so I don't have pain, that is false. And I don't think doctors would tell you that surgery will decrease your pain, but you have to understand that that's not going to happen. I have one client that's 25 years old that has had 4 spinal fusion surgeries. It's like Edward Scissorhands just kind of took over on her body. And she is on a level 2 narcotic that she takes every 6 hours by mouth. And she has a pain patch that she has to wear on top of taking Lortab when she needs it. I mean, it's amazing. So you have to understand, going and getting surgery will not fix pain. To answer your question though, is there a time, if you have bones that are not shaped like a normal kind of square vertebra, if it's a hemivertebra, it's shaped like a triangle, exercise cannot change the shape of your bone. If you have congenital issues where you're missing vertebra or they're fused together in odd ways, exercise will not change the shape of bones. We can make you better movers. That could be a time when surgery would be appropriate. But I have known people, I know one specific man that was 70 years old and got scoliosis from having polio when he was 3. And his curvature was like 85 degrees and he never complained. I think because he saw the horrors of what polio had, and we haven't seen that in, our current generations. He never complained about back pain. He never talked about getting surgery. So, in our day and age in America, we are obsessed with perfection. And if our spine is not perfectly straight, if our teeth are not perfectly straight, we're going to do everything in our power to fix it because we're Americans and we can be in charge of having perfect things. So you just need to be mindful on what is the goal of you going forward and having scoliosis surgery.
Erin, how are the vital organs affected by scoliosis? Obviously, the ribcage houses our organs. So when the spine twists, there is going to be an effect on the organs. Could you please fill us in on that?
Yeah, so this is one of the reasons that orthopedic surgeons oftentimes tell parents that they need to have surgery, because lungs and the heart will be affected. So when the rib cage rotates, the rib cage that goes forward in the back, you're going to have an impediment of the lungs, and your lungs will get squished. If you're squishing your lungs, you have the possibility of squishing your heart as well. Now, through movement, can we make lungs function better? Absolutely. Breath work is an amazing thing, and you can push out your ribs from the inside from doing very powerful breath work. So my solution, instead of saying, I have a collapsed lung because I have scoliosis, I was like, instead of getting surgery, how about we do some breath work and we can fix it that way? So those are the reasons that people would say, because your organs are squished, we have to do surgery.
Yeah, I'm telling everybody Pilates is a wonderful way to lengthen out the muscles in between the ribs, the muscles that get torqued and squished. We can do so much in the Pilates studio to get some length there and get better breathing, better airflow in the lungs. So please, if you can avoid it, don't go under the knife.
Well, and on that note, I would say that when you have chosen to fuse the spine, a choice has been made that there will never, ever, 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 ever be any rib cage or vertebral movement again. So if you have squished muscles that are in between your ribs, well, since we've not had surgery, we can move them and stretch them. If you have surgery, we don't get to move them ever again. And you have to go in and have myofascial work or massage therapists release it. So when you're tight and you're like, I have to stretch this, I want to do a side bend, you don't get to, because you're going to pop a rod, which will send you back into surgery, which happened to a client of mine when she took a yoga class a few years ago.
Erin, why is it important to manage scoliosis? And what are the benefits of keeping it under control?
Yeah, so scoliosis will never leave you. And it's okay. It's okay. But scoliosis will never be gone. It will never be gone when you have children. It will never be gone when you go through menopause. It will never be gone when you're a 75-year-old woman with great-grandchildren. So the sooner you learn how to manage it, the more at peace you'll be with your body, and the more at peace you'll be with living a great and happy life with having scoliosis. So on that note, I love to move. It is a treat to me to go take a Pilates class, to go take a yoga class. I love that. And I was trained to do that as a young child from my parents. So parents, that is a gift that you can give your children. Teach them to enjoy movement so it doesn't feel like a curse. It doesn't feel like therapy for them. And a funny little story. So I was showing my husband a picture of an x-ray of one of my clients for a magazine article that she was going to be in about how she's managed her scoliosis pain through movement. And he got this really big look on his face and he said, "Gosh, I forget that you work with people that spines look like this." And my eyes got really wide and I said, "Babe, you know my spine looks like that, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I just forget because you don't ever bring it up." I had to laugh because that's the goal, is that scoliosis just kind of disappears. It's like the bunions that I have. You know, they're always going to be with you and you just learn to manage them. So the sooner you learn to move and find practitioners and find things that you enjoy doing, the less of a pain and a burden scoliosis will be in your life.
Erin, could you tell us a little bit about what's a balanced exercise program is like for somebody with scoliosis? Because it really makes a difference what they do and how they do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my suggestion would be Pilates. So you have a mixture of strengthening exercises, but you also need a mixture of mobilizing exercises. The apex of your cob angle, of your curvature of your scoliosis, gets very bound, and you have to mobilize it. But at the same time, you need to learn how to brace your spine so it doesn't progress and get worse, and that is going to be stabilizing it. So my personal choice for my own body and my clients' bodies is a mix between Pilates and gyrotonic. I'm certified in both of those, but I know a lot of people that have done it through a myriad of other exercise forms as well.
Erin, at the beginning, when we were talking about children and what parents can do for their children, you mentioned that they should have a support group of different practitioners in their town. How do people know who is qualified and who is going to offer real hands-on help?
Yeah, so this can be a tricky thing, and I've gotten emails from people all over the world who have asked my advice on how to make this happen. So I would say you just have to start to look. Look at Pilates, look at gyrotonic, look at yoga, look at Schroth physical therapy. And then when you look at people's bios, look at people who have the most certifications, who've been teaching the longest, and then just say, you know what, that bio looks good, go take a class. Go take a class from them, see how they feel, see how they respond to your body. I would also add one little piece in that, and that is that people who have scoliosis have power in their hands to see if a certain therapy is working or not, and that's by using a scoliometer. A scoliometer is a device that's a little rounded level that you can use that goes down your spine to see how rotated your spine is. Research proves that the rotation of your spine and the lateral degree of your curvature, or what an x-ray is showing you, is positively correlated. So that was a lot of words. If I sum it up, if you measure your back before and after an exercise session, or before and after a myofascial release session, and the scoliometer measurements are less, you have decreased your x-ray curve. So you can see if a session helped you or not. Have someone measure your spine or measure your child's spine that has scoliosis before an exercise session when you're trying to see if someone's going to be good fit for you or not, even if that person doesn't have a scoliometer or know how to use one. And then you measure after the session, and it takes the guessing out of it.
That's a very clear answer, Erin. Thank you so much. One thing we haven't talked about is that people with scoliosis don't only have physical pain, but they also deal with a huge amount of emotional pain. What is out there to do about that?
Yeah, so having scoliosis can oftentimes come with a lot of shame. And again, a lot of it, I think, stems from the fact that in our society, we are obsessed with being perfect. And I find that people are more emotional when they know less about anatomically what is happening in their bodies. So when I work with my clients, we talk a lot about anatomy, and I try to have them leave emotional words outside the studio doors. So my 12-year-olds, my 9-year-olds that I work with, they know what fascia is. They know what connective tissue is. They know what muscles are. They've touched my back. I've touched their back. We've touched skeletons. We look at anatomy books, and all of a sudden, part of their back that sticks out in back, which the medical community calls a rib hump, which is the worst verbiage ever. All of a sudden, these little girls are like, well, no, it's just because my vertebra are rotated and I have ribs that stick out of my vertebra and it's just sticking back. I just have to make my lungs work to decrease my vertebral rotation. And I just laugh when these little kids talk like that, because all of a sudden we're not talking about emotions anymore. We're talking about tangible things with scoliosis. One of my 10-year-olds came in one day. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard out loud. And she came in very astutely and she said, the rib cage fascia in my body is tight. We need to untwist it. I laughed so hard. That is exactly what we want to hear. She knows what is going on in her body, and she knows when to ask for help and what to ask for help. And it's fantastic. So people who are practitioners, start using anatomy, start teaching these kids anatomy. You are going to help them for the rest of their life, not get crazy in their heads about this. And also give grace to these people. Some of these people have been told bad things by doctors, and the bedside manner might not have been the best bedside manner that doctors could have chosen to use. And words are what harm people. So like even in my studio, when people say, oh, I hate this, or this muscle's so tight and I hate it, I was like, okay, let's use different words. How about instead of it's so tight, I said, how about we use words like gummy? My muscle's gummy today. And I mean, what does gummy feel like? Gummy isn't a bad connotation. So just words are what people with scoliosis stick with. So use happy words. Try to get them thinking about their body in a happy way so they can proactively work with scoliosis in a positive way.
It is wonderful to teach these kids in an early age, so by the time they grow into adulthood, they really own their scoliosis and they don't put unnecessary emotional burden on themselves by shame or feeling less than somebody else, because they really not less. It's just a condition like anything else, and it's a great way to teach them how to own it. Erin, there's a so-called quick fix in the Pilates or medical industry which creates a lot of controversy whether or not it works. There's an exercise that probably most people have heard about. It's the side plank.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the side plank.
Okay, so 2 years ago, this research came out from New York that proving, quote unquote, that if you do a side plank on a very particular side for just a few minutes a day, a few times a week, that your scoliosis will decrease. Well, I got my hands on the research and it was faulty. I didn't agree with the side of the hand that went down, first off, and that's what made me raise some flags. But then I looked through the actual research itself, and it was a really small population, like 25 people, and they put degenerative scoliosis and adolescent idiopathic scoliosis in the same group. Those are two totally different groups. You have people who got scoliosis from having osteoporosis, and then you have people who, this is a neurological hormonal condition, and you're putting them in the same group. Young girls and old people, not okay. The list goes on the rest of the issues that I had with the research. So I wrote a blog post on it on spiralspine.com. Oh my God, I was blown away. People from all over the world started blogging, started commenting on my blog about this. And people, arguing, hot arguments. People who have scoliosis, parents of kids that have scoliosis, doctors, practitioners all over the world. And I realized there was so much confusion about this. So some people took it in their own hands to start doing it if they could figure out which side that this research had them do it on. And I started getting videos and pictures of people who made their scoliosis a lot worse. And my heart broke. So repeatedly, I did more blog posts about the articles that people were sending me about their own personal experience. Long and short of it, let's not do any side planks, okay? Side plank is a great core exercise. We're not going to use this as a quick fix to cure our scoliosis or to decrease curvatures, because even this research, some of the people that did this, their scoliosis got worse. But because some people in the research had such a dramatic decrease, and I believe those people were the people that had osteoporosis, that the numbers got all skewed up. So like in my DVD, Hardcore Scoli, the workout, I do side planks at the very end of the workout DVD. We do them both sides, and we do them for about 5 seconds because it's a great core strengthening exercise. I had one mother who brought her son to me, drove like 5 hours to have some lessons with me, and had Skyped with this doctor who had done this research in New York. And to make sure that they were doing it on the correct side. And his scoliosis got worse by like 30 degrees in a matter of about 4 months. And she just was distraught. And now his back major curve is like well over 50 degrees. And to top it off, his musculature is so unbalanced in his back. I mean, the right side, which he'd been doing the planks on, is so amazingly developed. The other side is totally atrophied. And the amount of work that will have to go into fixing this is unbelievable. Please, no side planks, folks.
Erin, scoliosis is so often accompanied by chronic pain. Do you have any tips and tricks for people, what they can do to eliminate that pain?
Yeah, so tractioning is going to be one of your best friends. And everyone has door jams in their house. Hang on a door jam. Get some length in your spine.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so the top of a door where there's like a little bit of a lip that hangs over where the crown molding or whatever is around, I'm not using the right word, where the outside of the door is, just grab your fingers on there, let your knees bend, and just lengthen. Hold on for as long as your hands can handle. And you'll just feel an moment in your spine where you just get some length. If you have a core line, if you have a Cadillac, any of these things, a tower on a reformer where you can grip something and get some length, that's even better. You can talk to your practitioner about that. During a normal day, a normal human can lose about 1 inch in height, but that because of gravity, and we just kind of shrink down on our spine. But a person that has scoliosis, our spine's like this, curved. So when gravity wins, we don't shrink down like this, we shrink down like this. So you could lose like 2 or 3 or 4 inches in a day, depending on your scoliosis. And you can tell because you sit in a car and you're going to drive somewhere and you have to readjust your mirror because you're now shorter. Hang whenever you go by a door and just get some length in your spine. That's a quick one.
You know, I'm the prime example, and I love to brag about this, that Pilates, in fact, does lengthen your body. Absolutely. I used to be 5'5" before I got involved with Pilates. That was about 10 years ago. I'm 5'8" now.
No way.
Yes.
3 inches?
Yes, 3 inches.
That is amazing. Yeah. That is totally amazing.
Erin, we've talked so much about what kind of exercises to do when somebody has scoliosis. We haven't talked about what not to do when they have scoliosis. So what is your take on that?
All right, I'm going to dance around this question a little bit. Are there things that people maybe shouldn't do, like jump on the trampoline, run? Maybe. But I'm also going to say that I don't want your scoliosis to stop you from doing anything in life. My children love it when I jump on the trampoline with them. And I'm not going to take an experience away from my children. So I go and jump on the trampoline with them. And then I go do Pilates for about 30 minutes afterwards. My spine does not like running. But that does not mean that everyone who has scoliosis may not like running. Usain Bolt, the fastest man that has ever run on the face of this earth, has scoliosis. So I am very hesitant to say don't do anything. I would encourage you to have Usain be an inspiration for you that have scoliosis. You can look up and you can see his back online. And obviously, he likes running. He runs a lot. So even though one person's spine may not like running, that doesn't mean that another person's spine may not like running. So I would say, listen to your body. Your body will tell you if your back doesn't like something. Like my body doesn't really like a lot of spinal extension. I've acquired a little bit of spondylolisthesis over the last few years, and my spine doesn't really like it very much. And a lot of people that have scoliosis don't really like spinal extension. But how can you check? Well, you can see how your body feels, but you can also measure your back with a scoliometer. It will tell you. It will tell you if your scoliosis got worse or not. So I have seen all the research. I have read all the reviews on that of what the recommendations are of what people should not do with scoliosis.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't ever tell my clients that because excuses abound already in their heads on what they can't do with that diagnosis.
Exactly. Plus, it just proves that everyone is different. Everyone is unique. Your curve is unique. Your body is unique. You have to feel it out for yourself. What may work for one person may not work for the other. So it's all based on personal experimentation. Erin, you made a comment about your body and other people's bodies not liking extension. Pilates can be such an extension-based exercise, and I've always heard that extension is great for scoliosis. Are you talking about extreme extension, or would you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's interesting. There have been a few people over the last few years that have come out saying spinal extension is bad for people with scoliosis. So, which I do not adhere to, but for most of my clients. So a lot of people with scoliosis have a flat thoracic spine. So our backs, our rib cage area should have a little kyphosis. It should go back in space. A lot of people that have scoliosis, it is flat, it is forward, it is lordotic, of which I am one. So anytime we do an extension exercise, we are making that part of our scoliosis worse. And when you have rib cage rotation, the part of the ribs that go forward are already in extension. So if you add extension to it, you are making that part worse. But that being said, a client that I saw just 2 hours ago has kind of a combination between functional scoliosis from a leg length and degenerative scoliosis from osteo and idiopathic scoliosis because she had it when she was very young, which is a lovely little mix of scoliosis. And her body loves extension. The minute we do extension, her scoliosis goes away. So again, I can't throw and say no one should do extension. I say exactly what you said earlier, which is look at the body in front of you. If the body looks like it needs extension, then do extension. If the body looks like it needs flexion, then do flexion. Get the correct sagittal spinal curves back in place, because research shows if you get those curves back in place, if you're looking at me from the side, those are the sagittal curves. If you get those back in place, scoliosis will improve.
And, I'm a huge fan of giving the body variety. As opposed to just focusing on extension. I love throwing in all kinds of movements because everyday life requires us to move in all kinds of direction. It's not only forward facing, but we have to side bend, we have to twist. And we have to do a combination of all of these. So we just have to get really successful in those movements, because if there are restrictions in our bodies and we can't bend over to pick up something that we dropped, or we can't lean sideways to, again, pick up something from the floor, then we may set up ourselves for an injury. So I'm a huge fan of giving the spine variety, because the body craves that.
Absolutely.
Erin, is there anything that you're working on, anything exciting that's coming up in your life that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, Spiral Spine has a million things happening. Spiral Spine is my company that I have created for resources to help the scoliosis community. I have a Pilates studio that I'm opening up in a month called Spiral Spine Pilates that'll be in Nashville. So it'll be a house for people with scoliosis, but also for normal people that want really good Pilates instructors that know how to work with them. I have a book I'm working on to teach Pilates instructors how to analyze scoliosis and the client body in front of them. And I'm also working on a bunch of different webinars on how to teach people how to work with scoliosis bodies. That's the number one issue that I have questions about all the time from people around the world is, okay, you tell me that I need to move. How am I supposed to move with scoliosis? So I'm in the process of videotaping lessons with all my clients that have scoliosis, so you can see firsthand how to work with a bunch of different bodies. So lots is going on in the world of Spiral Spine.
Erin, this is awesome. It's just, what you're doing is so inspiring, and also that it's hands-on, it's easy to understand, you're available, there are lots of resources that you put out there in order to help people. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
You're so welcome.
Also, thank you for joining me on this interview.
Oh, I'm so happy to talk with you.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye.